Hello everyone, welcome to the God Stack. It's another day, it's another session, and today we will talk a little bit about testing. Hello Bruno, welcome to the God Stack. Bruno is not here right now, he's in the traffic jam. He will be here with us in a moment. It's not going to take too much for him to get here with us. Meanwhile, we need to talk about tests. This is one of the things that I believe the software developers just let it go. And most of the time when we are talking about the front end, okay? There are two different kinds of tests that mainly, how can I say, impact in the front end. You can use the unit tests. Yes, we have unit tests for the front end, and we have the integration tests. Okay, and I believe that the best way that we can do to use testing into the, well, a lot of wind here. It's really wind. So the best way that we can get to have tests is to use both of them in harmony. Okay, because I see a lot of people taking too much time in the unit tests, testing things just like is this true, is this false, if I send this and that, and the one I like better when you are doing the unit test, it's the rendering test. This means that the unit test in the front end, I just want to test if the component renders, if it just shows on the screen without any error. And then all this logic about if I click here, click there, I will receive a message. So I should receive a message, I should not receive a message, should go to another page, should check if the page is there, the button is there with the message that I want to. So all these kind of things, I believe that belongs to the integration test that we are going to use Cypress, okay? But today, I believe that the focus, it's gonna be using Jest and using some other important libraries that we have in order to accomplish with the idea of having a test in the front end that just renders the component for us. This means that we do the basics, okay? It's the, at least you do that, okay? This is, you're gonna see, it's gonna be really easy to do these tests. It's just like you're gonna, if you already have the component, you're not going to spend it too much doing that. It's gonna be like minutes doing all this testing. Okay, it's really simple, and this is the reason that I say this is the minimum. You know, if you're going to deliver a front end, you should deliver with at least the minimum this kind of tests. Okay, so let's do that. I have here my TGS. So let's do what we do all the time. So let's clean everything and Docker compose up. Okay, so just cleaned everything. Let's make it works. Okay, that's nice. Well, in the same way that we use it Jest in the backend, we are going to use Jest in the front end as well. Okay, so the only thing that we need is to add the Jest library. Okay. Okay, so and again, we don't go in the folder and do yarn add anything. We always do that. We always execute adding things inside the Docker container. So yarn add jest. Okay. There you go. It's going to add the tests for us. And yeah, okay. So now I do have, actually I'm in the wrong folder. Let's just go to the SPA. Let's code inside of that, remove this one, and then start it over again. So go back one folder and then clean everything, and let's Docker compose up. Okay, running, and the SPA it's 1, 2, 3, 4 running. Really fast, isn't it? Yeah, if you use Webpack just pure without all the, it's really fast. It's amazingly fast. But people just do that a really amount of things that's not necessary when you are working with that. Okay. Well, in order to do the test, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to add here something called, let's call it test. Okay, just test. And when you run test should call for jest. And let's just see if this works. Docker execute iterative with terminal SPA and yarn test. Okay, this means it worked. So the jest is running, but it's just saying that there is no test files. Okay, so let's just create one. I will just go to the div, for example. I will create another file inside of this called index.test.js. There you go. This is all you need to create a test. Okay, and then when you work with tests, you can do describe. Okay, so this is the function that Jest provides us to describe a test. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to give a name to the test. So I will just call div. Okay, div test. Okay, div, there we go. And then you pass a function. Okay, there we go. We have the describe test with the div, and then inside of it you can call not this one. You can call a function, and this function is called it. Okay, so you will describe it. You give a name. So we'll render. I will just do that. We'll render, and then of course inside of that another function. Okay, and what it expects to happen. So expect. Okay, it's gonna be a function as well. Okay, so this expect, for example, true to be true. Of course, it's a real stupid test. I'm just checking if true is true, and let's see. There you go. So we have our first test. So it's gonna be kind of like that all the times. We will call a function called describe, and then it will describe every test that we want, and it expects something to be something, or to have some kind of length or something like that. This is red because of the linting. So we need to go to the S-lint. Okay, we go to the S-lint. In the environment, you just add here, if I'm not I believe that just true. Nice, that's it, there we go. You just need to do that. So now the lint knows that you are using Jest. So all the functions that belongs to Jest and works with Jest will be here and will be working. Okay, beautiful. Hey Bruno, what do you think about that? I miss that a lot. Okay, nice. So now we can start doing our proper test. Okay, so what I really want to do in the test is to render a component. Okay, I need to render a component, and if I want to render, I need something to create a fake DOM for me. Okay, because when the component renders, it renders in the browser. So I would need a browser to render a component and check if that if the component is there. Okay, so and the Jest, this is not a responsibility for Jest. Okay, Jest is just going to get something and get the answer and compare what you are saying to expect to what we're saying that it would expect to. So it's just going to compare these things and create some functions to enable you to improve the readability of the tests and all that, so the steps and all this. And in order to do that, to create something that's able to make a fake browser, you should use another library. Okay, and this library is called Enzyme. So I will just add this library. Yarn docker execute iterative with terminal spa yarn add, and then it's going to add the enzyme for us. Okay, this is really nice. Okay, so now I have the enzyme. The enzyme is just this library that creates a fake browser for me, but I need to add an adapter for whatever framework I'm using. Okay, and the framework that I'm using, it's React, so I need to add as well the library that's going to process React for me. Okay, so let's just do that. Enzyme React 16. Actually, we are with React 17, but I don't think they changed the name. Let's just check for React. Yes, I'm using React 17. I don't think that we have a Enzyme React 17 or something. I believe that the 16 we do have, but it's not the it's not the official one. But okay, we can use the 16 to do that. Let me just check if it's it's like stopped in here. Well, let's keep on this one. That it's going to solve our problem. Okay, nice. So there we go. I'm just going to add it, and as it's written in the manual, we need to create some configure in here. Okay, the same way that we need to configure all the other things in our projects. We need to do that. Okay, so I just get these, and I will, in the scripts, I will create a folder here called jest. Okay, and inside of this folder I will create a file called setup tests.js. There we go. And in the configure I will do that, but this menu is you could do that, you know. I don't need to get everything, so I can do that. Nice, beautiful, beautiful. So how do I how I'm going to use this setup that I've done? You actually need to do that using the package JSON to do that for you, because when you run the tests, you're gonna call some script in the package JSON. Okay, so in this case I'm just going to do test jest, and so of course I need to configure all these things in here. So I will just call jest. Okay, there you go. I have jest, and inside of jest I will add a thing called setup files. There we go. And I need it's an array actually. Where's my setup? So now I need to point to where it is the setup file. Okay, so it's gonna be scripts jest, just like it's there, and then setup tests.js. There you go. And I need to add something here called hoot tier. Yeah, they're just like that. So now I have all my files set up to these things. So let's just check if it's something. It's there you go. It's still working. This is good. So now with this setup that I have, I can get all these tests. But if you remember, when we are using the Webpack and all of that, we have this kind of resolver. So this resolver makes the src folder to be just like a module. This means that every folder I've got inside the okay. So every folder I've got inside the src folder is now a module. This means that I can do import from this folder. Okay, and the test doesn't know about that, just Webpack knows about that. So I need to explain that to the test as well, and I'm going to do that right here for the test. So I'm just going to get something called module directories. Okay, and now I'm just going to do that, and in the modules directories I'm going to say that the src folder, it's a modules, and of course node modules, it's a module. And now the same magic that works for the Webpack, that works for the linting, that works for Bubble, and now it's going to work for my tests as well. Okay, that's simple. So just explaining a little bit about that. I believe that it's not needed actually an explanation, but I will just use this function that's configure to configure the enzyme, and the adapter that enzyme will use, it's the React adapter. Okay, so I will run into a fake browser a React library inside of there, so I have all the React functions to run my tests, just like the hooks and everything that we use. Okay, so let's start our tests with this div. Okay, so let's just do
Hello,
that.
Brando.
Ooh, welcome to the God Stack, man. Oh, I miss you so much. So good that you're here.
Hello, guys. Sorry for the late. The traffic was horrible today, but I'm here now.
That's really nice. Guilherme, it's already here. Let me check just that you're just here. Let's just see. So we have Albas here. We have Commander Hood here. Welcome. Fitch is here. GPX is here. Gui it's here. Mara Romano it's here. Rafa, Thiago Costa, Victor. Welcome everyone to the God Stack. It's good to have everyone here, and let's keep. And Rafa, yeah, Rafa, you really need to learn the tests because you're starting a project right now with React and all of that, and I will just ask the test for you. You know, do not deliver things without test. Hmm? Bruno, it's the master of the tests. Everything he does with a lot of tests, isn't it, Bruno?
Yes, I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it now. Actually, yesterday and today I spent the whole day doing tests because in the project that I'm working, uh, we did several changes in pages and a lot of tests are broken. So we had to all the tests that is being touched by the feature that I'm doing now. All the tests that was broken, I need to fix it. So we have all the tests passing and nothing being broken by the feature to make sure that everything is working like it was before I started the test.
Nice. Nice. This is actually really nice. Let me ask you something. Uh, when people do the test, there are two different ways to organize the folders. Some people just create a folder in the very just like that.
Yeah,
They just do something like that, but just in the. It's not here actually. I need to close everything. They just do something like that, you know, or they do just like I'm doing. They create an index test in here. Which one do you prefer better?
um, I prefer to have a separate folder. I just don't like to see them put it together with the file, but it's just a personal preference.
Yeah,
But I prefer to have a folder separated. Yeah,
there is no rights and wrongs
yeah.
in these. It's just a matter of which one you like better. But it's uh, well. I will just try to explain why do I like this one better. I like this kind of approach because when you look to the component, you already see if the component it's there or not. I'm sorry, if the test is there or not. For example, I would just open this folder and say, hey, button, there is no tests for button. And then I open folder, there is no test for folder, and it needed to it's like a quick overview, and you can compare directly, and if you have these or not.
Yes, totally fine,
Hey,
and it's
we
just some preference.
we've received a subscribe from Rafa. Thank you, Rafa, very
Yeah,
much for a subscribe. It's man, I don't
good.
even know how to appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys. I'm sorry about the live. I'm not doing the proper things. You know, when somebody subscribe or when somebody follow. I'm not doing the proper thing like appearing in the screen, things like that. I promise you guys, I will learn how to do that, and in the next lives, I will set up all these things. I have some friends that knows better about streaming. I'm just starting that, and the main focus here is to try uh, to pass the knowledge that I have, and have Bruno to help me to do that. But I promise you guys that I will set up all these notifications in the live in the probably next week. I will have something like that. Meanwhile, Rafa, thank you very much for the subscription. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Rafa.
Yeah. and
Windows as always.
add the tests to your project. Yeah, I will check personally if you have tests in the project. Okay. Well, going back, so I just like the way that it's clear for everyone that when you look to the folder, you know that there is something missing, and in the next lives in the future we will have storybook as well. So you will see three different files in here. You will see the index that represents the component itself. You will have the index test, and you will have the index storybook. And another thing that I think it's good to have the test with the file, it's because it's very common that you get components from one project and use in another one. So when you get that and you get the complete component with tests, with storybook, with everything, with the styles, if you separate the styles with the styles, so you will like get something that's complete, that has everything that it's needed. And this is just the way I see it. And how do you see the tests in the separated folder, Bruno?
Uh, Actually, we had to know. We had to know if we had the tests. We need to check it. It's more like test-oriented uh, development, right? So
Yeah.
before start a new component, we need to have the file to the tests and
Yeah.
start it to.
Just speak a little bit
Okay,
closer to me.
sorry,
Thank you. Yeah.
I forget about the microphone.
Don't worry.
Uh, Before we start to make a new component, we need to set up also the file that will test our component. So we need to know basically.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, this. Sorry. Keep going.
okay. No, I was just going to say that I'm working currently in a project that runs Ruby on Rails. It's a framework, and and then we have there the specs folder. So in that infrastructure, it's already that way. We're not able to choose, but in React, we can choose if we prefer in a separate folder, or we can go with the file with our component. That is totally fine. I don't see any problem in either of the ways, but I think we have a good point that you mentioned. That is, when we open the folder, we have the test, and oh, okay, this component already have the tests, so it's good also.
Nice.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and one of the good points about having a separated folder, it's when you are working in a project that's really big and has a lot of people. So, for example, you have the QA engineerings, and then you have the QA coder. There is a lot of different QAs, and there is one specific engineering coder that these guys work with specific coding some tasks, and for these team, and sometimes it's a whole team that's working with QA, and then these guys has a separated folder, and then they don't it's not mass, but they don't change things in the component. So when you, for example, if you work with TDD, that's test-driven design, you start with the tests. So if you start with the tests will be in a separate folder there, and then you do the red, yellow, green things. So the red, the tests, you start with the tests, and the tests are breaking, and then you make the tests work, and then you refactor in order to get the best solution possible. So this is the red, yellow, green things in the TDD. I kind of don't like TDD for the front end because I don't know, I worked with that, but I don't have the feeling. I didn't get there where I start to use it and I like it, and I think that that's good. Most of the times it's just reworking. So I kind of don't like TDD in the front end. In the back end it's nice, but I still live in the old ways. Then you do the code, and then you implement all the tests to make sure that the code will be strong and safe enough. Okay, but there is different approaches. There is no rights and wrongs, just different approaches. And again, I like this one better because when you get a component from one project or one folder to another one, you just bring everything with you. And if you want to do that for a div, I believe that the first step that you need to do with that is to import the div. Okay, so let's import div from right here. Okay, because the div, it's in the same folder, I can do that. And I'm not doing that because the div originally it's a default export. Okay, so I don't import just like named import and as a object. Okay, and I need to, of course, add React from into the context. Okay, because I'm going to test a React thing. What's wrong with that? React's declarable first, never read. Okay, it is gonna happen in a minute, no problem. And then we need to import a function that will create a shallow. And this is from Enzyme. And there you go. So what does the shallow function does? It creates a fake browser, so you can test if the component renders inside of that. Okay, Guilherme it's very happy. We are all happy. It's really good. So let's create a variable. Let's call it wrap. Okay, because it's gonna wrap our component, and it's gonna be a arrow function. Okay, I can just use the shallow shallow. It's shallow now. Okay, so the div. Let me check the div. What does div receives? It receives a children and a class name. Basically, it receives the children. So I just need to add the children here. Children. This is going to receive the children. And when I render my div, okay, this div will render the children. Okay, so there we go. Now I have a wrap function that this wrap function will receive a children and will render my component with the children. Okay, so let's just go to the test. We'll render successfully. Let's do what everyone does. You just write it on the Google, and the Google. Ooh, I did it right. Nice. Okay, so it will render successfully a div. Okay, nice. So now that I have my my wrapper, I have my shallow, I have everything. The thing that I need to do is to create a component wrapper. Okay, and I will call, of course, wrap, and I will pass to that a children. Okay, this children should just be a string test. There we go. Okay, so what now? Right now, what we have in wrapper, it's a component rendered, allegedly rendered. Okay, so we need to test if it was really rendered. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the wrapper, this one, and I will ask if this contains a test. Test, just like that. So, and this should be true. Okay, so the wrapper, it's the div with the children. And if I'm asking if the wrapper contains test, this means that this div will contains the string test in the middle. Okay, so let's check, not running the test, but let's check mentally if all this should work. So I have wrapper and this contain test. My wrapper, it's this function, and then I pass an object with a string, and this object will be passed as a children for the div. What does the div do? The div receives the children, okay, creates a wrapper, that's a div as well, and add in the middle of that the children. So this seems to be the proper render thing. So let's just check it, test it, and there we go, it passed it. Okay, and let's see how would we test. Let's add another thing in this div. I want to add a ID. Okay, so now I will be able to have an ID in this thing. So ID, it's a prop types, and the ID will be string. Let's just use a string for now. Okay, so I just changed the div a little bit, and then I added to the props, I added the ID. So I can, if I'm rendering a div, I can pass an ID, and this ID will be the ID of the div, right? So let's just try to test that. Okay. So let's create it. Oh, not if, it. Okay. And then we name the it. What it would do? Renders prop ID if passed in. There you go. and then of course a function. Then let's do the same thing. Okay, but instead of but children, it's mandatory, isn't it? Where we go? Children. The div is not required. It should be. Let me think. All the divs have a not always. Yes, some divs is just okay. So let's just keep that way. But what I want to do is to pass a div. Let's call test div. Okay. And instead of using contains, what I'm going to do the find. Okay. What are you going to find? I'm going to find in this wrapper the ID test div. Okay, and then I should just have one element with the ID test div. How do I do that? To have length. Always make that, I believe that this one is going to be this one. Okay. Should have the length 1. So let's just check that. I have a component here, and then I'm just passing the ID. Okay. I don't have the ID here. There we go. ID, and this ID should be here. Okay. So it's the props in the div. Let's get that. Okay, it's the props in the div, and then I'm passing the ID, and then instantiating it with ID. This ID, it's gonna be exactly the ID in the div. Nice. And then I'm expecting that this component that I rendered, if I try to find a component, it's just like find by. Find by what? Find by ID. So find by ID. And which is the ID? The ID is test div. And I should just have one ID that's test div. Nice. So save it and let's test it, and nice. It's working. Now let's test something. I've said that the ID would be a string. What happens if I pass a number here? So I'm just going to save it and run the tests.
Albaz made a question in the chat.
Expect wrapper to contain test. I don't know. Let's just test it. So, well, just I will test it next. It's gonna be the next thing I'm gonna test. Let's just figure out what happened here. Okay. The test passed. Okay. The test is here. It's passed. Why does the test pass it? The test passed because when it renders properly. Okay, so it's possible to pass an ID that's a string, and in the end, if you check if the ID is there, the ID will be there. Okay, the ID will be there. So this will be true. So the test will pass, and you are going to receive a warning in the console saying, hey, when you rendered that, I've checked it as a JavaScript and I've did in the console, okay? And again, this error will be in the console. It's not going to be in the render of the component. So the DOM tree in the HTML will be okay. I have an ID that's 1, and then I checked if the ID is there, the ID is there. JavaScript, it's complaining. JavaScript saying, hey, okay, I can render that, but what I was expecting, it's the ID to be a string. So this is the reason why the test is passing, but you have a warning saying, hey, you are passing a invalid prop, and you are passing number, and I was expecting a string to that. So you are not breaking your code because of that, because JavaScript should never break because of typing. It's not what JavaScript does. It's just render things in the DOM. So if you pass it 1, it's going to render 1. And I just check it in the middle of that. That should be a string, and now it's a number. And then this is the reason it's appearing a warning here. If you see a warning into the console in the tests, you should solve the problem. You don't take a look at that and say, well, the test is passing, so I don't care. It's not like that, you know. You should solve that problem. And again, let's just make it go back to, let's pass full. Let's go back to a string, and then you run it again, and there you go. Now I have all my tests without any warning. Okay, so if you are delivering a test with warning, you are not delivering a test. You are just being lazy. Don't be lazy. Do that in the proper way. Okay? Got it, Bruno?
Got
Bruno?
it. Got it.
Bruno. Bruno.
Bruno.
Yeah, it's because we are speaking English, and it's
Yeah,
automatically. I believe that the I don't know, Bruno.
we we
Uh,
we have the feeling that we need to speak to say the R.
yeah,
Bruno.
Bruno. Yeah, Bruno.
That is Bruno.
Yeah, nice.
It's a
So
Brazilian R.
exactly. So let's check for albas and see if the albas idea works. So I will just change these. So it's gonna be just like wrapper. To contains. To contain. Test. I believe that this, and let's check if it works. It does not. Why? Did I did anything to? It's wrapper. Wrapper's there. To contain test. Does it also work like? Might not
The
have.
test, the tests are saying that two, it's undefined.
Sorry.
Exp the tests are saying that the expected
Yeah, I don't have.
wrapper two is undefined. So maybe
uh,
there's no function with
with
two. I don't
two.
know.
Yeah, there's no contain as well. So I believe that this method does does not work. Let me get, because now
Let me
that I,
check the
yeah,
documentation.
let's just check the expect uh,
Because I
expect
don't remember either.
expect jest, because I believe that albas is not wrong, you know. And now I will sleep with that thing in my head, and as I don't want to do that, expect. Let me just get expect to contain. Yeah, this one. This is chai, but the jest expect to contain. I have something like to contain. We have to contain item. Expect to contain item. Will this work? So it's gonna be to contain, just like that. Yes, to contain item. Let's just check it.
Not separated, right?
Yes, it's all together. but the to contain, it's receiving an object back. To contain, it's receiving an object back. Why? The wrapper. Let me just remember. The wrapper, it's rendered, but the rendering of the shallow. The rendering of the shallow is a object in the fake DOM, and then you have, yeah, it's a, yeah, the final thing in the shallow, it's gonna be kind of a JSON. Do you need to call any method on the wrapper? Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
this exactly that, Albus. Maybe
yeah,
we need to call something in the
I
wrapper.
think in wrapper dot props or something.
Uh,
Should
yeah, it's not. It's not props. There is something that forces the wrapper to render. I don't remember by head
see
right now.
that?
Sorry.
No, just taking a look at the wrap line 5 just to
Yeah. I don't remember it was render or something like that, but I remember that there's something that forces the wrapper to render. Yeah, 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 and then the test will be here in the data of the component. Yes, you were right, Albus. So I can force the wrapper to render, and the what shallows give you back, it's kind of a JSON with all the information, the DOM information. Okay, so you can check in that if you have the component that you want to. So here, instead of test, it should contain this.
children test.
Yeah, it should contain something just like that, you know, just like this thing. So okay, that you don't need to check for all the things. I just add this here for the sake of the
But
test.
maybe you just need to check if there's a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe you just need to test what you're passing.
Yeah, instead of contains, we could check if the object has one of the things that we are expecting to.
Can you? I think the children is inside of data.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can put wrapper dot render dot data to contain children
Data.
and comma
Let's just test that.
and comma. I think it will fail because you need to test if it contains the children.
Yeah, I'm just getting what it's back.
Oh, okay.
It's a function. It's a function. Should not be a function. Just receiving. Yeah, this one should be test. It's not. Let's just check it again. Okay, let me just. So in the 0.
In the 0 position.
Yeah, I always just sent.
I never used the shallow.
Yeah. Always I used it a lot, but in the.
Can
Yeah, it does the same way I did before, in the beginning. Shallow, wrappers contain, true equal true. Yeah, it's doing the same way I did in the beginning. just like yeah, that. So in the manual it does like that. It get the wrapper if the wrapper contains tests, and this should be true. So the wrapper does contain tests. So you can find something. That's the second thing that we did. So wrapper will find by ID. So you get what you want to be found. So I want to find the ID here, and it should be just one. Yeah, there you go. React testing. Yeah, you are right. I'm not using the React testing library because the React testing library gets all the things attached to it. For example, it will get all the CLI and all the things from React, and we are trying to do that more manually. So we are trying to build everything from the ground, using everything that we the way that we know what's happening in the code. There's nothing hidden in the code that we are building. For example, we have the Webpack, we have bubbles linked, everything was built by our own hands. We didn't use any CLI to do anything for us. So this is the reason now that I'm doing the tests, I'm doing the tests using the jest and the enzyme to do the shallow for us. And but you are right. I really like the times that I have opportunity to work with the React testing library. It was really nice to use, really good to use. Okay, so let's keep that way. So I just have the test for div, and now, of course, all the other tests, it's gonna be kind of the same. Okay, it's gonna be really how can I say? It's gonna be really similar. Okay, all these tests. So I will just get the div here. I just copy and I will just paste it to button. Okay, and of course instead of div, this is gonna be a button. Okay, and if I try to run this, I will receive an error. Actually, two of them. And now we have another problem. Okay, when we are working with, I will just remove this one because we are not going to. Well, I just comment it. Okay, because I just wanted to focus on the first one. That's just the button render. Okay, so the test is failing and it's saying, hey, I cannot get theme from undefined. So I'm just trying to do this use context thing, and I can't get anything from there. And why is that? The test just and maybe the combination is poor. Yes, yes, you are right. And sometimes I feel that it's not that it's poor documentation, but there is so well. It's everything is specific for something. For as the problem that we have now, that I don't have the use context, I cannot get theme from use context. I will explain that in a moment. But it's the same problem because you have specific libraries to do specific things. And for example, I have one library just to do the tests and check if one thing it's another one. This is jest, and jest can work in the back end, the front end, so it's just testing functions and things like that. It's not going to be responsible, for example, to instantiate a shallow browser for me to render a component inside of that. So the one that's going to be responsible for that is going to be Enzyme. In this case, it's gonna be inside. So you need to mount the things, you need to get the all the libraries that you need together in order to do a proper test. And this is the reason that you have this feeling when you go to the documentation of Jest, or when you go to the documentation of Enzyme. All the things seems to be poor, but it's not because it's poor, it's because you need to get all these things that it's in Jest plus all the things that's in Enzyme, understand both of them and the responsibility, and then do a test together. And if you just focus on the Jest, this is gonna be more empty. And as you were asking me for Cypress, we are going to work with Cypress here in this live, not in this day, but in the lives that we are going, we will do the test with Cypress. But Cypress, it's another thing. So just with Enzyme is kind of unit test for the front end. So you're just checking, for example, if the component renders, and it will be able to be on the DOM. And the Cypress, it's the integration test. This means that Cypress, it's just like a person clicking on the button and checking if all the messages are there, if I'm receiving the divs correctly, the backend is sending me the information and all that. So Cypress, it's another level of tests. We have different levels of testing, and right now we are working with the integration tests for this. So we will work with Cypress, but just not right now. Okay. So this error, it's because I don't have the context. And why didn't I have the context? Because if I want this context, I would be required to do all these things. So I would need to instantiate all this information, and then in the middle I would render my component, and that I should import all these things and all of that. And how I'm going to solve this problem? Okay. If you are working with Jest, you can do this jest.mock. Okay. And if you go to my button, I'm importing all these libraries. Okay, all these libraries. The one I want to mock, it's this one. The hooks. It would be a library, but in our case, it's a module. Okay. We aim for 9% coverage. Yeah, I work for a big IT company in the UK, and we are TTT. We aim for 90% coverage, and have written E2E tests, very big apps in React. That's nice. That's really nice. And aim for 90% of code coverage. It's a lot of code coverage, and it's really good. Just take care, because sometimes we overdose the tests, and we test things that would not make any difference. Okay, so just try to be in the level that it makes a difference for the client, for the product, or anything like that. But in just like the tune to the code streams, I've only just found that this exists. I can be another for other people for it. Just like to turn into code streams. Don't worry, man. If you have anything to say, yes. If you have anything to say, just say it. And if you have any doubt, if you want to collaborate with anything, this live is open for everyone. You are more than welcome.
Yes, we are here to learn also. If
Yeah,
you
we're
have
here to
some,
learn also. Albus helped
yeah,
us a lot. Debs
yeah.
helped us a lot. Bruno and me, we are always sharing knowledge between all of us. So you are more than welcome to be here.
When someone gets on the live and makes suggestions, we can always have another perspective.
Yeah.
Always know more libraries. For example, you mentioned the React text testing library. We can have a look on that after that to see if it's better or not. And it's very good, man.
Yeah, 15 years. Well, 15 years is a lot of time, and
Yeah.
it's really good to have somebody with that kind of time and knowledge around here.
Feel feel free to always be here helping
Yeah,
us do the things.
yeah. So just doing a little bit of focusing here. So you can actually mock that call, that import call, if you use just mock. So what you need to do now is to return what would be expected to be returned if you import hooks. So when we import hooks, just like that, if we import hooks, what I'm expecting to have back it's a use context, and use context it's a function. Okay, so let's just do that. Okay. Okay, sorry, it's not just like that. It's gonna be return. Okay, and it's going to return an object, and inside this object now use, let's just copy from there, use my context, there we go. So use my context, and use my context it's a function. Okay, so this is what I will mock, and from this function, when this function executes, what I want back it's something that's a team. Okay, so let's just do that. So it's a function, and when it's when you call it, it should return something called team. There we go. And well, let's just check the test, and there we go. It passed. Okay, so the test passed because I'm getting the team. It's an empty object, and then I can render these things. But I have the type that's required. Okay, and in my test, when I run my test, it says, "Hey, I need the type, but you're not passing it." This is a JavaScript problem, okay, but the component it's there in the DOM, so the component will render. Okay, now we just need to solve this problem, and how we're going to do that? We will add. We don't have the ID. Do we have the ID? No, we don't have ID. So I don't have the ID. Instead of ID, I have the type, and then I just pass the type as a type. There we go. Okay, and now I need to do the type. It's gonna be a small, for example, small button. Then we render the tests again. It's not broken, but you have specified the prop types exactly. It's a yes. I'm using styled components. Yes, I like styled components because you can work better with the teams. So it's a better way to work with teams if you work with styled components, and it's not broken, but specifically yes, exactly. I built a component library in TypeScript, and that moans when you miss something. Yes, it's right, but just remember that TypeScript is something for the local development, and it's not for the production. So when you go live, when you go into production, your code will be just JavaScript without the TypeScript. So you will not.
But the prop types is it's not just for the development too.
Yes and no. You can remove it. You can actually add something in the webpack to remove the prop types if you want to. But if you don't remove, it goes to it goes to production. It will be there into production. But again, the prop types, it's less invasive than the TypeScript. So when you're using prop types will not break anything. If you, for example, as we saw right now, I should pass a type and I'm not passing the type. So the component will
Yes.
render in the end
Hey,
because you have a component, but if you have TypeScript, your code would break and say, hey, you need to implement that. And
yes.
the prop type is just going to give you a warning. Again, if you have a warning, you should take a look and see what the warning means. The downsides of TypeScript, in my perspective, again, I use TypeScript in a lot of projects that I have. I'm not saying that you should use one or another. You just need to understand the environment that you have. So you need to choose it properly. But the code that's written by TypeScript, I don't like. The end code, the code that goes to production. That code, it's not the one I've wrote. It's the one TypeScript did in order to do that. There is some ways that you can work with Webpack and Babel. That Babel will remove all TypeScript. So you can use TypeScript locally, and you will have all the things that, for example, type checking and all of that. But when it actually renders, Babel will remove all the typing things, and the only thing that lasts it's the JavaScript, the original JavaScript. And from that, you have something that will be compiled to production. And the experience I have, it's this one, it's better and it's faster. And when you do code just using the TSC CLI, the TSC CLI produces a code that's really bad and makes everything that you've done more slow. And I don't like that. So if I'm going to use TypeScript and it's forcefully, for somehow I need to use TypeScript, I prefer use Webpack with Babel to remove everything and just let my JavaScript in the end. Well, let me see, because there's a lot of messaging here. So build a component library TypeScript, okay, but TypeScript you have specific all props bool string, yeah, and if you don't match it, errors, yes. TypeScript is good practice in React component. Prop types is good practice in React components. It will give a console error if not right. Practicing force. TypeScript gets compiled down to JS anyway. Exactly. We use Yalk to compile TypeScript. I've never heard about that, Yalk. Maybe I should have a test with Yalk. I don't. It's not that I don't like TypeScript. I'm not saying that I like or not. I'm just saying that I don't like the CLI. When you are using TypeScript in your IDE, it's really good. You can just do the IntelliSense and all of that's gonna work as a charm, and it's gonna be really good. But the codes, the final code that it produces, it's really, really bad, and it gets me every time. Every time I see the code, I say, this is not this is not the code that I did. And when you test it against a pure JavaScript, the compiled TypeScript and the pure JavaScript is always faster. I don't know why. That happens, but it's always faster. And when I'm working with the backend, it's even faster. If you just work with pure JavaScript instead of using TypeScript. I don't know what they do. I don't know what kind of things they are using, but the CLI, the compiled CLI in the end, it's really bad. So I saw this strategy that some people use TypeScript, but they use Babel to remove the TypeScript when it's going to compile. And this one is the best words because you have TypeScript and you have the proper JavaScript in the end. So it's the best one. Maybe in the future we will try to implement that here in the lives. It's a nice thing to do. I just need to study a little bit more, and then we will do that in the lives.
Yes, actually, the TypeScript is type checking, but it goes a little deeper. So it also checks our if the HTML component it's the right one. When I first started to work with TypeScript, in the, in the
The
beginning, I
microphone.
was just like, in the beginning, I was just like, oh, that's hard to always specify all of things. And
Yeah.
sometimes we need to install something from a library that is not properly uh, documented, so you don't know the proper typing. So, but with the time I get used to it and try to understand better. It's like you said. There is the pros and there is the cons. So
Yeah.
there is it. That's it.
Yeah, I've started with PHP as well. He's saying that he started with PHP. It was the
Yeah.
first one. I believe that everyone that started developing software around 2005, 2000 something there, it will be or Java developer or PHP developer. Java, if you're working something with hard things in the backend and it's web, you are working with PHP and some jQuery, whatever kind of JavaScript that we have in that moment. It's really in that way. Don't worry, man. If we are here to talk about technology, it's really good to have someone with that kind
I
of
even
experience, and it's
I
really good.
even wrote a
Thank you
I
for
even
being here with us.
I even wrote a library in TypeScript.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody uses, but it's there.
This is one of the things. For example, the videos that we are producing the videos that we are producing in these lives. I'm just using YouTube as a backup because it's not a tweet. They deleted the video after 15 days. So I needed somewhere to let the as kind of a backup for me, so the videos will be there, and I just put in there, not expecting anything. And some guy from India, he just sent a message, hey, I'm liking that very much, I've learned a lot. And then he asks me something and make some contact. And this is what community is. This is what we are doing here. This is what it's all about. I'm here showing what I know, and some people will get in the other side, and then they will come here and help us to do what we are doing. Where are you guys from? Bruno is from South Brazil. We are both Brazilian, but right now I live in Europe. I'm living in Lisbon, and in the next month I will move to Hamburg in Germany. 3 to 4 months I will be living there. So I was born in Brazil, living in Lisbon, moving to Germany, and Bruno is Brazilian from south of Brazil. That's it. Jonatas. There's a lot of Jonatas in Brazil. Well, going back, so the tests. The other thing that I want to test, if it's going to render a large button. Renders a large button. And how do we render a large button? Let's just get that, and let's get a large button. Okay, so if I need to get the large button, I need to get actually the it's gotta be the ID. It's not. I'm just passing the type as the type is not that. What's the type about? Type. It's the size. It's not the type. I'm just passing the thing as the type. It's if it's yeah. This is type submit. Again, forgot how to write this thing. Submit. It's right. Isn't it a double?
No,
double
it's right.
T? Yeah, it's right. Yeah, nice. So the type submit, but I need to add a size here. So I can do that. Size is gonna be large. Okay, and then I should check if I have a size large, and it should have length 1. I believe this one's gonna work. Let's just check that. No. Receive it. So you should have this size large. Let's get these. So I pass size large, and I should have a prop that's size large. Okay. What I'm doing wrong here. Let me just try to check it and see. Yeah.
Mine is searching for the props.
Yeah. Find by size. Let's get
Uh,
to the size.
I think find.
I believe if I get the one, he's gonna. Yeah. It's not rendering. Because as you can see, I'm just saying, if I'm not passing anything, just get the MD, right? But why do I do that and it's not changing for these two that?
I thought that found look for HTML component.
Yeah, got it. So this is the reason the ID works, because there is a prop called ID in a component, but there is not a but why do I have the MD? Why does the MD works it's this have length of 1? Just
This is a good question.
yeah. Console log wrapper dot handler. Let's just check what's in here. Now I'm curious about that. How is this? Yeah, of course. There is no test in it. What? When it renders, it's not going to find it. So the wrapper, it's the original element. When I do that, I'm getting the original element. So it's this button without any changing. This is the reason the MD, it can find the MD, right? So I don't even need to pass anything here. I just need to do that, and then it's gonna give me the original element. Yeah, it's the It's not the mounted exactly. For wrap in this case, usually you mount the component. For wrap in this case, exactly. But what I'm doing, I'm not mounting, and the reason that I'm not mounting it's because I just want to see if the component would render. So it's a proper component without an error. I will get all the tests, just like clicking if the button, for example, when you click on a button, if it triggers a submit or things like that, using the Cypress to do that for us. So I will do the minimal amount of tests using the unit tests. This is the reason I'm not using the mount. That would actually mount the component just like I did with the render. So it would when I do the console log and I do the wrapper render just like that, it's gonna actually render the wrapper. And then when it renders, it's gonna say, hey, I don't have tests because Teams does not have sizes and all of that. It finds the MD because the wrapper, it's when you use shallow will transform what you have in your function with all the component in a kind of JSON, and then you can find inside that JSON the property and things like that. So the shallow will give the some functions to find something in something that would be an object. This is the reason that you can get that.
But I think I agree with Pete's Genius because the test should make sure that the component is rendering. Don't you agree? Because if you are passing props, it's just like you initiate a variable, just like const number equals to 1, and after that check if const equals to 1, if the number equals to 1.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Because if we render the component, we are making sure that the component is being rendered.
Yeah.
So, and after the component is rendered, we are making sure that the component has the props that we want it has want it to have.
Yeah.
Sorry for my English.
No, I got it. I got it. And the thing is, what you're testing with the wrap, Ficinius asks, what's the wrap? The wrap is this function. So it's a function that you pass some props to that, and it will create a shallow of a React element. Okay, so it's just gonna be this element. This will make a mock of this component. So instead of returning as a DOM element, it will return as kind of JSON with all the elements that would have if it was rendered in the browser, for example. And then you can get and find things in this JSON, okay, and find things in this JSON and check if all the things that you want it's in there. Okay. So, for example, when I render the button just like that, using the shallow and all of that, I can check if the size MD is there because I'm just forcefully doing the size MD when I'm calling this function. If I want to get the large, it would be required to actually render the button, but that's not what I want here, because I don't need to check that right now, because all these kind of checks I will do using Cypress. Right now, what I want to do is a unit test, is just to check if this function it's returning a component, and the shallow it's getting these and transforming these into a JSON, and then I can check in the JSON for some informations, and then with these checks I will have the possibility to understand if my component would renders or not.
So you are basically checking if the component that is being generated, it has everything that you need to to actually render it.
Exactly, because if
If
you
the component has all the data to be rendered,
exactly
and then
exactly
with the Cypress you're gonna check if
exactly
it's
so
all
yeah,
the component.
exactly. So
I never used this structure, so I'm learning here also.
yeah,
Mm,
so Bruno, do you understand
okay,
this thing? So when I use shallow, uh, I'm testing the function. I'm not testing
okay.
the rendered component into the browser. Okay, because that's what a unit test does. It tests the function, not uh, not the it tests the function, not the rendered component. Okay.
Yes, I got it.
The thing is, this function returns a component. So I need somehow to make this become something else that I could check just as a function. For example, I check if one it's one. I check if an object inside of the object has some properties that I want to be checked. So
Yes, I saw when we are trying to to find out what was the function that we needed to see if we had the content, and
yeah,
and you
I
co-
just I'm
and
just
you
yeah
and you showed what was the content inside the wrap, and we saw all the structure. So the wrap has the all the structure that we need
you mean
inside of a
this
JSON.
one?
Yes, the wrap.
Yeah. Uh, I'm just curious about something. I will just pass a size called large. It's because I'm just thinking about what I want to do. I want to console log the wrapper dot render to actually render these and see.
But I know why the size is not being passed, because in the line 5 you have a
Ah,
component
yeah.
you are not specifying the prop
Ah,
size.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, bro.
Now
No,
the prop
it's gonna
is
work.
gonna be
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just add this to the. Yeah, I forgot that. Perfect, man. If I just do that, it's gonna work. I was just. This was really confusing for me.
That's why we have
There you go. It's working
the
now.
size.
Sometimes we just.
All good now.
Yeah. So, well, again, when you. Well, let's just console. If I console log wrapper, it's just gonna be an empty object, isn't it? Because there you go. So if we render this, it's gonna be just an empty object, exactly, shadow wrapper, it's gonna be an object. If I want to see the result, I should call...
Maybe render.
Yeah, I should
Render.
call the render function, but if I call the render function, it's not going to work because I'm
Or
not...
mount. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not mocking the theme properly. So let's do that because I'm really curious. I'm really curious. I'm sorry.
Curious.
Yeah, you get. And then I need to have another thing, and this is gonna be alt, and it's gonna be whatever. Full. It's here. So now if I do that, it's gonna work, I believe. No, why? What? It's two not. Sizes, teams, team sizes, text, large, full. There we go. And oh, this one, it's the one I wanted to. There we go. There you go. So this is what it's being rendered, and instead of giving me back a DOM element, it's giving me back a JSON with all the information that would be required to create a element. And then you have
we even got the F, so it's the reference to the element.
Exactly, and it
So
works just and it works just like it works in the DOM, using the nodes. This is 0 node, it's a tag, it's a button, and it's defined in W3. The type, the attributes of this button should be type submit, and somehow, somewhere, if we go inside and get, you would receive all the information here. There you go. But this is what I was expecting to receive. A kind of JSON with all the information that's required to create an object in the DOM. And then with that, you can create a DOM. Is here from which determines the outcome. All contain within, yeah. Nice. So now I'm not curious.
Yes, I got you, Fitz, but we are trying to do here. It's not the same structure that you have. We are checking. We are making the unit test with shallow. So we are checking the reference, the JSON element.
Yeah.
If I can say that, not the actual. So we are not. I think we are not using any kind of. Sometimes it's a virtual machine. Create let's open a browser or something to actually see if this is just yes. We're checking just the
yeah. Just get the microphone again because it's failing again.
No, but it's just that I need to buy another microphone.
Yeah, I will do that for you. Don't worry. Yeah, it's.
You don't need to.
Yes, it's the point that I'm going to do that. Don't worry. Okay, the next test that I believe that's important is to test the pages, because in the pages you have some logic. Okay, so I will get the div test. I will just copy it and I will paste it here. Okay, there you go. And of course, instead of div, this is gonna be login page. Okay, what it's required for a login page? Nothing actually. So if you want to render a login page, you just render it without anything and save it and let's remove these because we don't have. So in the end we just have and we don't even have anything just like that. It renders successfully a login page. So it should contain tests, but we have the generic template. Let's just get to the templates. The generic templates. Because now I should find something by ID. So let's get an ID here. Let's call it login page. Okay, there you go. And then let's implement it on the generic template. So I will get the ID here, and this is gonna pass the ID here. Oh, there we go. So now I can get the ID because this is a div. The div receives an ID, isn't it? Yes, the div receives an ID, and the full circle, it's right. I just need to add this. It's gonna be a prop types, and it's gonna be a string. There we go. Hang on. You see here we have props that we pass down. Let me just get the thing that we passed. Const props. Render. Let me just make it bigger. There you go. Props. Okay, yeah. And then you do the prop things and you pass down. Okay. You have first child. You have test class. Perfect. Yes. We actually make it work. Let me guess the other one. Let's check it. Let's just do okay. Nice. So let's just okay. So button for button. Okay. You pass all of these, and you expect get text. Click me to run that. Should be traffic. Yeah. As I you guys on Discord, yes, we are on Discord, and the Discord. Let me just check if it's free. Yes. Can you post the Discord, Bruno, on the chat for Fritz if he wants to?
Yeah. I don't know if the link is up.
Yeah, but what Fritz is showing us here, it's a little bit more. There are a little bit more things that so you could do the query selector and all of that. But as for example, testing on clicking the button. No, this is get by tag. Yeah. Okay. But this is actually what we are doing as well, just like where's the test? There we go. Just like here, we do the same thing. We pass the proper props, and then we just render the props. I'm just making it be more more clean as possible and small as possible, because all the big tests will be done by Cypress. So clicking, testing, inputting things and all of that. So this is going to be done by done by Cypress. So let me just finish this one, because this one is important. So this is the login page. Okay, so we need to render the login page. So I'm just going to get and create a wrap of the login page, and instead of testing, I need to get it by ID. This is why I'm doing, this is why I'm doing that. So I'm passing to the generic template the ID, the generic template get ID, and pass all that. So now I can just get my my wrapper. I just find, let's find it by ID, okay, and it's gonna be the login page. And this should, instead of that, it's the same of the div. So let's just get this one. So I always type it wrongly. So let's just do that. There we go. So this would render the login page. But as the login page has a lot of logic, this logic will fail. Okay, so, and of course, the first thing that's failing is the theme. So let's just get the theme just like we've done here. There we go. And then we go to the login page and we do it here. There we go. So we're going to solve the hook problem. Okay. And now we have, in my voice chat, muted. Oh, okay. So let me just here. Fritz Genius. Let's remove the silence.
Hello.
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 Okay.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Yeah, fine.
Good, man.
Good. How are
So
you?
got link that Discord. It was like, is that right?
Yeah, it's
Link the
because
other one.
yeah, it's because the in the Discord we just for security reasons we just make everyone muted, and when it's
Oh, okay.
required we just let people talk about. So where are you from?
I'm from the UK.
From the UK. Nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. And a very cloud place. It's really good place to live actually. And how's the corona situation there?
It's not too bad. I mean, it's been shit for everyone, isn't it? To be honest, but
Yeah.
it's getting
Yes.
better, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
In
Worldwide.
Brazil, it's a lot worse. It's a lot worse.
Yeah. The president's not helping, but
I'm so fed up with talking about coronavirus,
Yeah.
even with friends and family. It's just like, oh,
yeah, I believe that corona is the new how's the weather. You know, it's just like when you find someone and say, "Hey, how's the
it's
weather?"
almost like you talk about it so much, it's just become numb to it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So let me just try to finish this theme about the login page, and then we will talk a little bit more. So when I'm testing the login page, one of the things is I need to test the use mutation. So we can do exactly the same thing that we did before. So when I get my hooks in the same way that I get the hooks, I can get the Apollo client, and we can mock something from the Apollo client. So one of the things that I'm going to do, I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. So let's just do that, and let's get the library that I have here, and there we go. I will just mock the library, and the function that we need to mock, it's the use mutation. Okay, let's copy it. So in here it's gonna be use mutation. The use mutation is gonna be, let me just check, a function that returns an array, and in the array I need to have inside
Is
of
that like use state then? Because I've never used use mutation before.
yeah. So there you go. I can just return anything because I don't actually want to call the backend. I just need to have
You just have to return
Yeah.
a value
Yeah,
for the call that's being made, right?
exactly. And with that, it's well, it's everything that I need to make this work. But you can actually do something when you are mocking a real library. Okay, you can just do that original module. Okay, and then you can just do the just require actual. Okay, and then you pass the library. This is going to get everything from that library. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the spread operator to spread everything that the library gives me, and I will just mock the use mutation. Because if
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's because if there is anything that's dependent, for example, if the use mutation depends inside of something to work, it will be there available. So now, if I run my tests, let's just
So
check.
what I do at work is we run the jest tests, right? And we do we create like a mock function in jest, which calls what we do is we make a mock API, which is a local API, and then in production or UAT, then that will call that, and then you'll tailor your app to do that stuff. But in the jest, we say jest mock function, and then you'll determine what data is returned from that in like a static, like JSON format. If that makes sense. Like you don't need to like require any modules or anything. You just literally just need to create a jest mock function, or just you write your test saying it's going to return this value. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, got it.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But the only reason that I do that, it's because you kind of get the original feeling of the library that you're using, and if there is any dependency between, for example, this function that will be rendered inside of anything about this library inside of that module, it will be there. So the test will pass properly without any warnings or anything.
You mean in case we need something of this library?
Yeah, I believe
I
that
think in this case we don't
exactly.
need.
In this case, we
In case
don't.
we need something,
Yeah.
we could have.
Well, actually, we do. There you go. See?
I'll try and explain again. So when we create a jest mock function, we either mock a onChange or a click function, and then we basically just we manually hard code in the response from like what would be a response if you click something, and then you get a network request to get some information.
Yes.
And that's all
No,
hard coded into the file.
Yeah.
Of course,
so
that makes sense.
So there's no like dependency, like importing libraries into the test file unless it's required for like to
Yeah,
do.
but just take a look at this. Just take a look at this example. This example.
Sorry, I'm going off a tangent, mate. I'm sorry.
Right?
No problem.
No problem.
problem.
Oh, look at this example. This example is really good because this function will just return a true. Okay. So, but when we use the use mutation will receive a use logging. That's a GraphQL that will be rendered in the backend.
I'm with you now. That's because it's GraphQL and you expect
yes. You're using GraphQL.
Forgive me, I'm an idiot.
and
no problem.
And when you do this user logging will actually use the GQL to work with the GraphQL, and that comes from Apollo client as well. This is the reason that when I'm working with tests in the library like that,
I know. I missed that completely, mate. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. This is good actually, because it's how we learn actually. We try to do things, and we made this, and when we see the error in the console, and we try to solve the problem that we are seeing here. This is how we actually can learn. And
you're only as good as your last job.
Sorry?
you're only as good as your last job. That is God's honest truth.
What does that mean?
Just you're always learning. Basically.
Yes, exactly.
That's what that means.
Exactly. This is exactly.
I'm talking to some random guys on the internet at midnight, and look at us. I love it. We're learning. You're learning.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
And so this is the reason when I'm mocking Apollo client, I'm mocking all the modules that it's dependency of that, because the use mutation, when you use execute the use mutation will execute inside of the component. It will call user login as we are using with GraphQL. The user login will call a GQL, and this GQL it's necessary to render the component. So what I'm saying is this exactly function will just return a true in order for the component to render, but everything that's a dependency will be there as well if it's needed, and in this particular case it was needed. So this is the reason that I've done that. So if anyhow you need to mock a library, that's a library from Node modules, for example, you can use these kind of things to make everything work. And I believe with that we have kind of seen everything about these unit tests. So in the next live, I believe that I will come back a little bit to the backend because I want to talk a little bit to you about the workers. So it's another interface, one of the different interfaces we have the backend. So one of them it's the workers. So we will work a little bit with that, and I believe that in the next live as well. I need to do the CI process for the front end because we have CI process for the backend, and now I just want to do the CI process and do everything that we are doing for the backend, just like rendering an image, building it, sending it to the Docker Hub that we can use into production. I want to do that with the front end. So I would do first this one, and if we have time, I will do that worker thing for the backend. Okay, so guys, thank you very much for this day. It was really lovely. Thank you, FitzGenius, for being here with us. Again, you are always welcome. And again, Bruno, it's always.
Let's give you a follow. Let's give you a follow, mate.
Yeah, Bruno, it's always here with us, and man, again, we are doing these lives for I believe 3 months right now. More than 3 months, it's almost 4 months.
I've been thinking about doing coding streams.
You should.
Yes,
Actually, you totally
nice.
should, man. You totally should do that. It's really amazing.
No, I come into these streams. I'm like, oh yeah, I know all this, that, and everything. It's like, oh, you're trying to do your thing, and it's like I'm trying not to like piss you off or anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not. Yeah.
And the thing is, I believe that you seem to have a lot of experience. So the community around software development would be nice. In the beginning, it's very hard because you just trying to understand what should you do here. But with time, you start to get used it and improving and get better and better and better, and that's what we do. So again, thank you very much for the presence, and
It's all right, mate. It's all good.
I see you, everyone, in the next live. Let me just check.
In the next live.
Yeah, let me just check if we have someone that's this girl. Yes, she's really nice. So let's go there and I rate everyone to there.
We're still on the old Discordy, mate.
Yeah. So I will send anyone to Isabella. So please receive her with all the love that you can, because she's a really good girl and she's doing really good streamings.
You
Thank you
guys,
everyone. See you
thanks for the present.
in the next live. Bye.